Peggy's online. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to call to order this meeting of June 16th, 2022. Yeah, that was a good year. It does say 22. Watch out. This is the time for public
Peggy
comment.
cannot hear us.
Cannot hear us.
Something happened. It worked a second ago. Peter, can you hear us?
It's working, just the volume is a little low.
I see the owl is being,
I think you just need to speak up a little more.
it's a little scary. Well, it's not scary until you go look at it. Recorded meeting. It's as big as this.
You don't have to worry when it goes red.
Okay. Our wing set here.
Is it better now, Peter?
Yes, that sounds pretty good.
Test, 1, 2, 3.
Krista might need to speak up a little more. Sorry.
Can you hear me now? There's
Yes.
about 2 people in this room, and now I feel like I'm yelling at all of them, but that's okay.
Okay.
All right, this is my outdoor parent voice. This is the time for public comment. If there's anyone here from the public that would like to ask a question or express a concern or observation. Is there anyone online that would like to speak? I don't see anybody raising their hand. Looking over there, that's where I have to look. Okay. Then we're going to move on to approval of the May 19th, 2023 minutes. Are there any corrections that anyone wants to make?
Yeah, I have a couple of minor things. First page, right up front, Krista noted that invited Mike Thomas, that she invited Mike Thomas.
Well, no, that whole sentence is incorrect, so
Okay.
I'll edit that. You can move on to your next one.
Okay, the next one is the next sentence. Hope to meet with Mike before the June meeting. Not a comment on the minutes, but I hope we can have an update on that at the appropriate time. If it is on.
That's going to get updated too.
Yeah. Let's see, on page 3 of 4, first paragraph, Brian asked for reports to be shared with the public. I suggest that we insert the word stewardship reports there, because we've just been talking about cultural resources and we don't want those to be shared with the public. I did a double click when I read it. And then finally, up above that, middle of page 2, talking about, let's see, second box down at the last sentence. Lastly, she commented on the remarkable experience attending unpronounceable Jewish word. Congratulations for not getting checkmated by spell check on that. That was great.
Okay, so if I can go back to that first paragraph under Chair and Commissioner's report. I went back and checked the video because I was, just to clarify. So this is kind of an awkward sentence. I'm not sure exactly how to paraphrase it. But what I had said at that time is that I acknowledged at the previous meeting, we had said we would invite Mike Thomas to one of these meetings. But on these minutes, what I said at that time was we rethought that rather than have him come here after talking to Brian and Sandy. It was decided that Lincoln and I and potentially Kristen and Minnie would meet with him on our own just to have a discussion. And so that's however you want to. So I did not invite him to the main meeting. And we have not yet connected with him via correspondence with him, but that's not for these minutes. This should be corrected just to say that it was decided rather than invite it to the May meeting, that we would meet with in a small group with him. I guess it's the best I can do. It was kind of wordy in the minutes. I went back and looked at it.
I was gonna propose to start.
Strike the whole thing. I don't know. I feel I could do that. That's up to the rest of the commission.
That's fine.
It's pretty wordy, but I just didn't want to make it sound like we invited him and he didn't come and whatever. So that, because that was not the case. And then now at the bottom of page 2, the bottom box, there was a consensus to move forward with negotiations with noted suggestions. And I hadn't seen any noted suggestions except I think that next sentence. So maybe they should be connected. Let's clarify what the suggestion was.
So we're,
Director's report, it just simply said, third line, there was discussion period. There was consensus to move forward with negotiations with noted suggestions.
That there will be.
Yeah, that there will be an introductory meeting, because that was the basic suggestion. So, yeah, something just to connect those. And then, stewardship report, tribal panel follow-up, item 1, it says point of contact for projects. Lincoln will fall into that role. I suggest we say will serve in that role. Just that sounds awkward.
We hope it doesn't fall.
I do not remember typing that.
And then,
Who edited my
number
minutes?
2, the end, the second sentence, he suggested a commissioner and a couple staff, maybe you should add, should be invited to attend. That wasn't clear. And then in that following paragraph, again, we say there was discussion. And then it says the land bank has the ability to work. I thought maybe we would add, there was discussion, comma, regarding the land bank's ability to work with. Just connect those. But those are not big things, but they were just, that's it. Okay, so if we're comfortable, we'll accept them with those corrections. They were super clear. You can call me again.
Well, that's what the video's for.
That's, yeah, that's why I went back and watched that other video. Okay, so now we're gonna move into commissioner and chair comments. Is there any commissioner that wants to share any comments?
Well, I did a bunch of stuff.
That's good.
Notably, I got to go to the North Shore property and have a tour with Peter and Andrew and Aaron, which was lovely. I got way too much attention on that tour. It was mind blowing for me because I was both seeing the property for the first time as it is right now and hearing through the staff's comments what it's going to look like. And it just kind of blew my mind trying to get those two pieces together. I visited Watmau Bay this week for the first time ever, and I had a question about the log and cement structures that are on the north end of that, whether we installed them or not. Curious, I could talk to Amanda about that. I'll ask her about that. I did sit on the new Zilska benches, which are fabulous. I hope everybody gets a chance to do that. And I participated with the WWRC briefly with the reception and the Dead Man Day visit yesterday. Spoke to some very impressive people. And at the Green Drinks meeting last night, I spoke with Joe from State Parks, excuse me, National Parks, and reiterated, I believe Doug may have raised the issue of the commission going and viewing the exhibit down at the park with him guiding us through it, because we had previously talked about what a great job he did. And so I'm really interested in doing that. If we could put together a group with them around sometime, that would be a fun thing to do. And I did show up at the farmer's market and could hardly answer any questions, but thank goodness we had Judy and Aaron there who knew everything. So that was a good experience. And that's basically it. Great, thanks.
Let's do a couple of things. So a couple of weeks ago, I tabled at the Orcas Farmers Market with Andrew And I just want to mention it because it was such a good time. A lot of good energy. First of all, I always enjoy the hang with Andy and listening to how he talks with people, relates to people. But we were approached by so many people with so much enthusiasm about the land bank, and either locals who know about the land bank or summer people and tourists who don't know about the land bank, don't even know maybe what a land bank is, and are just really curious and just say, wow, that's very cool. So it was really, really a blast of good energy. It's really nice. I guess the other thing I'd say about that is that we need some merch, I think, moving forward into the REIT re-up. If we want people to have a takeaway, then we need to have a giveaway. And I think we need to think about that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the same afternoon, I attended a little ceremony at the Coho Preserve put together by Aaron Licata and Sam Barr to welcome the return of the salmon to Cascade Creek and to honor and thank our stewards, Jimmy Root and Jerry Weatherman. And it was just really nice. First of all, it was a beautiful, bright, sparkly afternoon, the sun sparkling on the water. And Sam did an invocation in the Salish language, which was really nice. I didn't understand much of it. But then he presented gifts to Jenny and Jerry. He gave Jenny a plaque, which he had made and laser engraved with Sam, beautiful wood plaque. And to Jerry, he presented a bent wood box, which he also made, with an arrow. He knapped the arrowhead out of flint and fletched the feathers on a yew shaft. And it was really terrific. So just a nice experience of being thankful for the resources that we have and passing that thanks along to the volunteers that who help us.
So,
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. I don't have much more to report. I did also sit at a farmer's market and we didn't have a huge crowd there, but we had, it was very positive. Everything that came from any interaction there. And then I think I've already shared it with Tanya, but just kudos about the annual report. People just love that document. They really, really like it. And then I spent Wednesday with the WWRC people at Pinker Lopez and then tagged along at the brewery yesterday to keep the dialogue going. So that, and that was a really fun, very nice group, very nice, very thoughtful. I learned a lot from that. So that's what I did. Okay.
Peggy has something.
Oh, I have something. So I don't know why. Am I getting a feedback now? Okay, I guess I can only talk via the phone. Anyway, I wanted. Is this echoing for you?
No.
Okay. So a couple different things. I had a chance to go work on the Spencer Spit Trail and I want to give kudos to Amanda because it's a fantastic trail. And I'm really excited about that. And two other things, had several conversations when I was on San Juan recently about the Zylstra Trail. And there is confusion about, sorry, wait, I'm talking, I'm just getting my voice back again. About the Zilster Trail and an assumption that the land bank is involved in that. So I think we need to do some work there. And then also just, I want to voice a little bit of disappointment that I don't see Mike Thomas on the agenda coming up to talk about reauthorization. So I think that's it, me and my echoing voice.
Thank you. Thanks, Peggy. Okay, if that is the end of commissioner comments, we now have county council update.
I got everything
Oh,
on preservation.
Sorry, yeah, I think Angela is, I can't
Oh,
wear my
yeah,
glasses.
okay.
I'm sorry, Angela, it's, you're up if you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sorry
Chair.
about that.
Good morning, everyone. I have a few updates and I will continue to be spreading the news, even though this may not be the most recent update, but for North Shore, we did receive the 2.1 million full request from the Puget Sound Acquisition and Restoration Fund that we've secured that. So it is typically these funds are reimbursed, but we did have a meeting with the RCO representative and found out that when we're ready to close, they'll be able to transfer funds directly into escrow. So moving forward with that, we're anticipating getting a grant agreement from RCO either late summer or early fall. And so that will lay out sort of the steps that we'll need to incorporate into the CE and other things to arrange for the final closing. I wanted to thank all of the commission and the county council, our legislators, everyone who helped push this over. It was not an easy feat, and there were a lot of like little twists in the road. But we did receive the full funding, and actually PSAR was fully funded, which also was thanks to our friends at the Washington Association of Land Trusts. There was a lot of advocacy from land trusts around the state to get PSAR fully funded. And I wanted to just note that it would be great to arrange a tour where we can invite legislators and others that supported that grant out to the project so that they can see the progress on that. So we'll be in touch in the coming year to see when would be a good time to do that and reach out to those folks. The Katy Mountain campaign is still underway as well. And this is a little more immediate. We have 247,000 more to raise to be able to secure a full match for the funds. And we need to raise that by October 31st in order for the match to apply. So we are out meeting with folks and supporters. And so want to let people know this is a project that we've been partnering with the land bank and intend to have a conservation easement over the parcel and for it to close by the end of the year. So Katy Mountain's underway. In terms of stewardship and care, we've got a few other joint projects that we've got some great news to share. The Island Marble Butterfly habitat plot at the Fraser Preserve, we were able to observe over 49 eggs/larvae. So that's about 3 times the amount that we had last year. And news is Island Marble are moving to different places right in that vicinity. And so they're on the move, and it's really good news for the species to be able to establish in other places. We also have been doing some improvements to the Ihaya Biological Preserve. So this is a property in which we hold the fee and the land bank has the conservation easement. We've been doing some trail maintenance and also moving the trails to get out of some wet areas, as well as some invasive species removal. and we've partnered with the YCC to do some of that work as well. So, so it's looking good over there. And then finally for Connect, we're excited to be hosting the summer social again this year. So, and the summer social is going to be at Lindy Park. And the point of the summer social is really to highlight the Beaverton Marsh Preserve, another joint conservation project that we have with the land bank. And the summer social is going to be August 5th. And it's underway. We're waiting to just make sure that this is something that we could fit in. And it's the first time we've had a summer social in 5 years. So we're excited to bring the membership together and to have this opportunity to be able to share about the joint partnership, bring folks on a tour of the area and talk about next steps, and also the importance of the reauthorization for the Conservation Land Bank, because this project's underway and there's more phases to go. So we're excited to bring people together and wanting to talk more with staff. I know our staff are working on this, but happy to bring in commissioners and others into how we can work together on that at the Somerset Social. And that's it.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear anything. And it looks like Peggy can't either, maybe.
It's all silent.
Okay, now you're back. Now you're back.
Thank you.
Now you're silent again, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I can't, now I hear you, but I didn't for a while.
I think the group is somehow muted in the room and the rest of us can all talk freely among ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
Yeah, I can hear the Zoom people. This is Tracy.
I heard that.
Yeah. I think we lost the live group in the Mullis Center.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear
Oh,
us now?
they're back. They're back.
Okay.
Somehow.
Are we back?
Is it Eileen doing all these things to us? She did something earlier.
It may be internet.
Yeah, it could be internet. Can you hear me clearly right now?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe you
That's
could
good.
just repeat the last minute or so of conversation.
Well, Peter, we nominated you for a lot of committees, so. you'll just have to-
Accept.
you'll
Thank
have
you
to
very
read the
much.
minutes. But other than that, maybe what I was saying to Angela was, we've been having trouble pulling together the quarterly meeting with the Preservation Trust. So I'm asking Lincoln we'll get together, make a list of what all the commissioners are doing in terms of committee work or projects, and see if the two existing people who are serving with that committee or group want to continue to serve, or not, or if we need to find new membership. Brian suggested the chair and the finance person has done it in the past. I will graciously turn that down until I can get off the strategic plan and renewal projects. But we'll find some people to secure as members for that group, Angela, and then get back to you, so you will have an easier time getting people to pick a date. I think that's what we said. Anything else? Thank you for that report, Angela. That sounds great. Are we all invited to the summer social on the 5th?
Yes, yes. And if we can have a quarterly meeting, then I might even be able to give some volunteer assignments too.
Excellent. We love that. Okay. Thank you for your full report. Appreciate it. Good news on the dollars. So now County Council. Woohoo.
Good morning. I'll just jump right in. The Department of Environmental Stewardship and San Juan County Solid Waste Program is assessing the waste tire disposal needs of local citizens. We've actually had some incidents on San Juan Island specific involving old tires, and I don't know if any of you locals remember, but years ago, somebody dumped like just dozens and dozens of tires over the next day.
West Side Preserve.
Remember it clearly,
yes.
Yeah, anyway, so this is sort of a step in the right direction to maybe, not have those incidents happen, but the fact is, it's not an event yet planned. They're really just trying to figure out if an event like that would be successful and if there's interest in people or for people to get rid of their old tires. If anybody wants to get rid of old tires, you have to contact Katie F at sanjuanco.com to tell her that you are interested. I had to give a presentation to town council yesterday. It's like the worst part of my job is speaking in public, believe it or not, even though that's what I do all the time. As such, I'm just going to sort of regurgitate part of that presentation here today, which is about housing. And actually, it's a lot of really great information. And since that is at the heart of most people's concerns these days, it's really good, information to share. I'll start with the Argyle lots. After much research and council input, including staff review, Ryan Page, housing coordinator, has put the final touches on a lease that will now be in negotiation with the San Juan Community Home Trust to move forward on that project. Council is considering a 1/10 of 1% sales tax increase to further support affordable housing. Draft program guidelines have been completed and the Housing Advisory Committee has had a first touch of these guidelines. This tax would cost an average San Juan County household of 4, somewhere between $15 to $20 a year. And the anticipated revenue would amount to around $800,000 total. Council has been given the authority by Washington State to implement this tax at the local level. And as a side note to that the idea of implementing this program was the tipping point in our staffing for our housing, and as such, council has authorized the addition of a part-time staff to join Ryan Page in this quest to provide housing. So more to come on that. I think we're moving in the right direction. There's something I was going to report on that I have lost. Oh, I just wanted to update the, we have the REIT fund, as you know, connected to yours that receives an abundance of REIT revenue, as did you. And last year, at the end of the distribution process, we gave $3,500,000 to 4 projects across the 3 main islands. And this year, rather than open a completely new funding round, we, council, are looking at providing some supplemental funding to the projects that didn't receive full funding last year, rather than starting anew, which will help them and us. And the distribution this year would likely be in the range of $2 million, and it will allow projects currently underway to get nearer to completion. Council had an Orcas Island meeting on Tuesday evening, and we received a fantastic update from Peter on the North Shore project. Property. Don't you hate that word project? I do. Really, it was fantastic. And in fact, the stewardship and management plan was, I really appreciated reading that. He was accompanied by Barbara Rosencotter,
Yes.
yeah, from the Preservation Trust, who also reported on the PSAR, as Angela just did. And I met with Christy yesterday to talk for a time, and it was really just mostly about keeping the wheels on the bus from our, in our roles, anyway.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any questions for our county council person? Thank you very much. Finance report, not so much.
Yeah, nothing to report. This month, we didn't have any substantial expenditures or revenue for the month. So it was just something we could skip over and move on. And then next month we'll have quarterlies.
So I asked him on the way over, we didn't lose money.
We didn't lose money. We, had 320,000 in reported for the month. So not bad. Trails were about 800,000 off of pace of last year, if that's any context of where we were last year to where we are now, but still ahead of 2019. So we're doing okay.
There are some really expensive properties on the market.
Yep.
Yay.
Hopefully we'll start seeing some of that hit the fund here this month and next month.
Great. All right, so we'll move on to the director's report.
Sounds good. So you've heard a little bit about the visit from the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Coalition, which I sit on the board of. They have quarterly board meetings, and rarely do they make field trips for those board meetings. Usually they're in Seattle or Olympia or remote. So it was great to have them here. The importance of that organization is that it advocates on behalf of the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program. And that's their principal job is to secure legislative funding for that program. And in this last round, that it was funded at $120 million for recreation and conservation projects across the state. That's the highest level ever. I think the previous record was maybe 100. But great outcome. We've been very successful with that program and other state grant programs. The principal category that we've used there is the water access category. So we have secured grants in that category for a number of different projects. Also, we did one of the sites we visited yesterday was Mount Grant, which we got a local parks grant for $1 million back in 2018. We also looked at Channel Preserve not the day before yesterday, and we secured a water access grant for that one, in addition to an aquatic lands enhancement account grant. So it's great to have that group of people here, give them an opportunity to see our projects and just to talk to them about how things are going at the state level, and really a great site visit. So thanks for everybody who participated. That was really helpful. Moving on to the strategic planning update. After the last meeting, we did go back to the consultant to talk about changes in their scope, principally adding that introductory session, which they're doing. We also had a good round of discussion with them about follow-up in terms of how do we get community input on the strategic plan. And we've kind of, I don't think we're not through with that conversation yet. But they had proposed doing a survey, and I think we're really moving away from having a community-wide survey as part of the strategic plan, and really preferring to have that pushed off and more focused on the question of reauthorization and how the organization is doing leading into that whole effort. So we are going to have to do a community outreach piece right now with the strategic plan. Right now, what that means is they're going to focus initially on identifying key people, influential people, influencers, whatever you want to call them, but people throughout the community who are well-known, who spend a lot of time talking to other folks. And we'll be wanting our consultant to really sit down with them and talk through the land bank and where we're headed. So we get a good understanding from that group of folks, which will help us generate a draft plan. And then we'll have another outreach piece that may be something we use the county's Engage platform for. I think that might be a really suitable use of it. That's not, it's different from a survey in that, you know, it's voluntary. Whoever wants to do it does it. It's not a randomized sample that's going to be statistically significant, but it would allow us to get some good feedback on people's reaction to ideas that we're presenting in the plan and their ideas and how we might change it or whatever they think is appropriate. So that piece is yet to come, but we'll be working on finalizing the contract with Triangle and getting them going. Our hope is that we'll have them at the July meeting. And that will be the introductory meeting. So we'll do a long meeting that day, probably like we did the tribal panel. We'll have a short commission meeting followed up by a 2 or 3 hour session with the consultant.
Lincoln, will that keep us on track for our intended timeline?
Yes. I mean, this, if you remember, Triangle thought that it may take longer than the end of the year to do as good a job as they could. So that may carry over a little bit. We'll see how it goes. If we're doing a second survey, really geared around renewal, that would probably take place around the end of the year.
So our challenge really is to finalize the terms of the contract so that we can get it to the PA's office and
Right.
get their approval so that
Right.
we can invite them in July.
Yeah,
So that's our,
exactly. So we'll be working on that this week and hopefully get it over to the PA's office and go from there.
that is great. Any questions for Lincoln?
Just briefly, would Triangle be conducting the second survey that you just alluded to, or would we go out for another consultant on it?
It would be another consultant. I've been talking to Confluence Research,
Mhm.
who did the 2019 visitor. Well, they did a number of surveys, a couple of surveys. One was of visitors and residents, and then one that was just of residents in 2019. Looking at that question of how we deal with visitors and, you know, what some of the answers might be to address the situation where we've got overcrowding. So they did a really good job of that. I have a lot of confidence in their ability to do a good survey, which is not easy in this county. I also talked to the Northwest Regional Director for the Trust for Public Land a couple of days ago, and they have a a conservation finance team of people who work on these questions. They work on ballot questions and surveys. And so I'm going to be following up with them too. I don't know that they'll have any ability to contribute financially to that survey, but they can certainly help us in terms of figuring out how these pieces fit together.
Great, thank you.
And that's about it for me.
That's great. I'm going to go back then just briefly to WWRC because just to share with everyone the input I heard on how valuable and competent and talented our executive director is. They love him. They love him and they love his talents and knowledge. And one woman even said, how will we go on without you? That was a little extreme.
That was
He was even there.
that was really embarrassing.
It was super fun to watch though. It was, so I just want to make sure to share that with you. And then someone also said to me, or said to us, some woman, she said, well, I hear Lincoln's going to donate, give us $1 million or something. And I said, no, I think he's going to be asking you for $1 million. I don't think that's how that works. But anyway, they did, yeah. I just thought it was important to share that.
Great. And no term limits, so you're there for a while.
Oh, yeah, that's. Okay, so moving on, we're way ahead of schedule. So I'm just going to move into stewardship and we have on the topic meeting management for climate resilience and wildfire risk.
All right, who wants to start with that one? This is really kind of an introductory subject that Peggy was interested in having on the agenda. So I think we're going to have to come back with a much more detailed overview of what we're doing. But I think it's important to get that conversation going because it is the beginning of fire season. And we each year get really concerned about what's happening. And so it's important for us to actually tell the community what we're doing on this question. And we're doing a fair amount, actually. In fact, a lot of our invasive species work, particularly focused around plants like Scotch broom, which are particularly flammable, really help with controlling that. We have had projects going up on Turtleback to do shaded fuel breaks, which seems to be one of the big recommended strategies on forest lands in the islands, as we're going to expect to continue to get warmer and drier in the summer. And we've been doing a fair amount of thinning work, mostly around Gary Oak areas, but that's something which we'll be talking about expanding. That's all going to be dependent on coming up with adequate funding because it is not a cheap activity. I will mention though that one of the primary things we do to help mitigate fire risk is land acquisition. You look at the county and where fires start, it is not, it really is not, or very, very, very infrequently, is it on public lands or conservation lands. It's almost always on private lands where people are doing, where they're active. They're cutting things up with chainsaws, or they're having fires, or they have issues with their electrical systems. And that's the predominant source of ignition that we have throughout the islands. So for us to be able to conserve larger areas and assemble them and really kind of help contain human activity to other areas, I think is a principal and highly effective strategy for helping to deal with wildfire risk. But we'll talk and pull together something more comprehensive and bring it back to you.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
Lincoln, to what extent do you see that being part of the strategic plan discussion? Or is it, do you see it as a given at this point that's mostly technical and implementation stuff?
Well, I think I think it should be part of the strategic plan process. Because in order to do that, if we're going to really move more toward landscape scale projects where we're going to be working across hundreds of acres or potentially thousands of acres, the cost of that will be phenomenal. And so people are going to have to understand that, yes, we'll be looking for outside resources to do that. We're also going to have to contribute our own resources. And there could easily be a pretty significant impact on whether we're able to continue to acquire properties at the rate we've been acquiring them or at the scale we've been acquiring them. Those two things may really be in competition. So it's important for the public to weigh in on it.
It's interesting to me that what you say about public lands, because coming from California originally and having spent 6 years doing a fuels management plan, in order to protect the public from fires starting in the parks. Now, I'm a little skeptical of that, but then California is California and it's different here. So I think, I have some stuff to learn about that, but I think we need to look at it carefully and educate the public in that process.
Yeah, and I think one of the big ignition sources in California in recent history has been utilities. California has a lot of public land, and so there are a lot of transmission lines that are crossing public land areas. We have far less of that. Most of what our utility lines are going across are private, and Opelco has been trying to address that. It's been somewhat controversial in the clearing that they've done around their power lines, but it's all a question of what's where.
Yeah, well, California is also drier, of course, and we were dealing in the Bay Area with Diablo winds, which spread the Oakland Hills firestorm.
Right.
So that was partly a result of that.
Did we not set aside money a number of years ago or identify money to do some wildfire? Is that a correct memory that I have? We talked with, I remember, I kind of have this recollection of Doug making a presentation on, the importance of trying to get a handle on what we might do, what is feasible, what's workable. And I thought we set aside some funding for work, attention being given to that, but I just don't remember any outcome from that.
Well, this feeds into other efforts that are happening. So the Department of Emergency Management and the fire districts have been, we have a wildfire protection plan. I can't remember the exact title of it, which I think is being updated now. Is that right?
There's an effort to the conservation district and the county are looking to put together money to update that plan.
That's a county plan, not ours.
It is a countywide plan.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it identifies areas, and by having that plan, we're able to access grant money. I mean, there's a lot of money available in fire.
Yeah.
And Peter has his hand up.
Oh, thank you. Peter.
Hi, I just want to echo Lincoln's comments. I think those are they all make very good sense to me. I think to me, it's sort of a granularity issue, so there, Aaron was just talking about countywide efforts and conservation district efforts to look at the countywide, forested areas, but also I think the land bank can prepare for asking for funding, position itself to get more funding by kind of prioritizing our forests for such work. And we've been trying to do that here on Orcas. We got a forest assessment done of the forested preserves last year. We did the Turtleback property before that. So, getting getting positioned for making those funding requests and knowing where we need to work first, I think is an important part of it. And like Lincoln said, it's not a cheap thing. So where are the key areas to work? Yeah. And also, you probably all saw a press release that Tanya put together this morning. Maybe you saw it about the culvert projects on Turtleback. That's, it's not forest thinning, but it's directly related to manageability, of forests. So it's making sure those forest roads are drivable in all seasons, and so that they don't wash out periodically from climate change related rains. But anyway, enough from me. Thanks.
Thank you. Carolyn.
Just a question about, Peter just mentioned a forest assessment on Orcas, and I wondered if we had a standardized approach to our larger forest properties on all of the islands, that we would enact that same type of study. And do we have the funding for it,
We've been working that way.
Okay,
We're not quite there.
that seems like a real important task for me. Great.
I think both the forest assessments and the shaded fuel break concept are really very strong ones.
So maybe if we're gonna have an extended meeting in July with Triangle, maybe this topic could come back in August.
Sure.
We'd have time then to do more.
Can I put in just a few
Yes.
words? Well, Lincoln mentioned Scotch broom, but I would kind of like to say that a lot of noxious weeds are in the understory and considered ladder fuels, like holly and English ivy, as well as Scotch broom. So Peter's on, the priority of when we acquire a preserve and really going after those weeds is kind of the first step for, I think, really looking at tree density and things like that. So pretty proud of the priority that's made in doing that. It's not often associated, we jump right to the trees, I think, when we think about that. Some of those noxious weeds are pretty intense in carrying fire. And the other thing we don't really have here as compared to California is the lightning strikes too as start. So talking about human ignition as the source is, I think, pretty important to inform public. I mean, we do have a few, but the conditions are so rare for those to be big spreading events.
Is there, Christine, a question for you? Are there county regs on noxious weeds? And because I'm thinking now, like Scotch broom, for example, there's along Fisherman Bay Road on Lopez, like there is a ton. And I'm wondering, is there anything property owners are required to do about that?
There are, and I actually just started sitting on the noxious weed board. Yeah, well, among many, but so I'm actually just stepping into that understanding for the first time in my seating. But there are regs. But it is not necessarily a circumstance that we enforce. Is that the right word? It's very we come at it cooperatively as best as possible, and we have resources such as landowners' ability to take these noxious weeds, should they pull them, to the dump and have it paid for. Yeah, it's definitely a hopefully cooperative situation, but I was on the ferry the other day and I saw like this whole side of Lopez that looked like it was all Scotch broom, like it was just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, this one field used to be tulips. It was all yellow, still all yellow, but now it's not tulips anymore. And I think, I don't know for sure, but I think whoever lives there actually is a renter. And so when I drive by there, I just think it's so, you don't even have to crawl into the forest to get to them. They're laid out there like they were cultivated. And yeah, so I was just curious about that.
Yeah, there's state regs about noxious weeds. And that's why we have the Noxious Weed Board, which does have enforcement ability and can fine people, but that's not typically.
And enter your property without permission. to remove those weeds.
So they can't enter your property without permission?
It's
Wow.
a very unique law.
Well, I've had
They don't
them,
really want to.
Yeah.
Of course they
They
don't,
don't want
but
to.
they have the authority.
Yeah,
That's
and their capacity is quite limited,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I have had great luck having them come help me pull spurge laurel in particular, and also within my homeowners association, I am the weed nag. And, I let people know what's going on their property if they haven't noticed it. And I also took it upon myself a few years ago when I had a little more energy to try to be responsible for the roadsides of Road Travel Road from my house back to town, which is about 2 miles. That really took a lot of energy. And, none of this is really pertinent to the forest lands that we're talking about, but it seems as if noxious weeds ought to ratchet up a little bit in our general level of community concern. So I'm glad that you are involved, Christine. It's touchy. Nobody wants to go out and do it. I mean, I pull my neighbor's weeds because they don't want to do it. But we just don't have enough human power in that department. So,
We literally, on Salmon Island have one story.
Yeah.
I think there's now a second that might be on the fence. But just now.
and haven't we been using some of the community, Conservation Corps kids?
I suspect that's true. I
As
haven't
well.
had that experience to
Okay.
answer fully.
So they're working with with our crew.
Yeah.
They're working on land bank properties, yeah, which is just a great opportunity. Great opportunity. I mean, it's just kind of mindless work, but it's also gratifying.
We also,
HOAs are a good way to go too.
Yes, yeah,
Get the group energy together. I'm
yeah.
sorry, Dr.
we do lend out weed wrenches.
Yes, I borrowed yours many times.
So, anybody who wants to borrow them, and I think Conservation District does as well. So if you get bored, you've got a lot of anxious energy to get rid of, just
Yeah.
give us a
A
call.
little frustration. I'm just gonna mention something, because we've talked about different pots of money or lack of money, and this just popped into my mind at the farmer's market. Lopez, I met someone who actually was someone, her name was Chiara D'Angelo, does that ring a bell? Sarah, the land bank steward, she knew who she was. I engaged her like she was just this very well-spoken young woman who seemed to know a lot of stuff. And what she was interested in mainly was indigenous use of lands for some kind of a rehabilitation program. But anyway, we got into a big discussion about a lot of things. But one of the things she mentioned that was interesting to me is that she said Victoria is launching a voluntary tax program. And I didn't know whether it was a percentage of your property tax or if it was a percentage of your property value. I don't know what what the numbers used to calculate the final dollar amount, but it's a voluntary program to raise money to be applied to purchase of indigenous lands for indigenous use or ownership. But just the concept of it was interesting to me because you don't have to do it. You can do it. They're running it for a year to see. I think that she said the final outcome is to kind of ease everyone into it and then make it an additional tax. But it's a good concept to kind of think about, I think, to see, because there'll be people that have means that would be happy to pay more on whatever, depending on what the topic was. So I just wanted to pass that along because that, I just had never thought about. We did a sliding scale, or not sliding, but we did a leveled scale tuition for Camp Nor'Wester. And once everybody came to the program, invariably they paid the highest amount, but the people who were new to the program could pay a lower amount. And it was all optional. There's no income, anything. So it could be successful. So I'm just gonna throw that out there in the county's direction. We're really ahead of schedule. I think I will take like a 10-minute break and then we'll just come back and address outreach and communication, et cetera, if that's okay with people. Okay, so 10 minutes, 9:43. Gotta get the land bank to pay their heating bills. Maybe contribute to the senior center bills. Well, I don't know. I think they're giving us a message though. So we're going to resume the meeting, and before we go on to communication, I did want to, we had a lovely, as always, stewardship report. And I wanted to give commissioners an opportunity if they had any questions about that. We have two stewards type people here. Are there any questions?
I just loved it. That's my comment. I just love the stewardship reports. I love the photographs. I love the evidence of so many volunteers showing up and helping. I just feel like this is like the nugget that holds the whole program together. Is this what happens in the stewardship report? I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything?
Oh, and I did have a question. How do we find volunteers?
Well, that might come up in the communication.
I'm on the corner with a sandwich board. No,
Oh, you're very
it's,
effective.
there tends to be a stalwart team. And it's usually, we've done emails, but mostly what it ends up being, what I have found over the years is the stewards, their own connections or relationships with the people that have been coming. You know, they form their own little community.
Okay.
Things that Doug had suggested, which I thought was really great, is starting, now that we are starting to have kiosks, they put up kiosks at a couple of the different preserves, Lime Kiln, working on one at Mount Grant, or there's one now at Mount Grant, posting signs when things will be coming up, or, you know, people that come, more direct marketing in a sense. You're already here on the preserve, do you want to help? And that's how we found a few new volunteers for the gate. So Wednesdays and Sundays through the busy season, the gate opens on Wednesdays and Sundays. So it's a lot for just, you know, staff. We all kind of take a turn. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah.
So as the kiosks come up and there's a place to put it, I think it'll be easier to find people. Farmers market, any community outreach, emails, it's always in there.
Yeah.
Social media.
What about at the nursery?
Some of the same. We benefit hugely from the Master Gardener program because the Solar Seeds Project is an approved project where Master Gardeners can meet their volunteer hours requirement of becoming a Master Gardener. So that's, yeah, so we have some studies, and then, you know, from the plant sale events, if people, we actually don't really have an explicit way for those people to sign up or not for our, you know, kind of volunteer announcements, but sometimes those people end up on our list, and so we can actually tighten that link, because a lot of those people, you know, have come back.
Hey, I have a comment about the stewardship report and volunteers. There are a lot of great pictures of volunteers in the stewardship reports. Looking at them the other day, it occurred to me that we ought to try to name them if possible. I don't know whether, I mean, somebody, certainly the stewards ought to know their names, even if you don't, Tanya. And I'm all for recognizing volunteers in whatever way we can and thanking them. So just a caption with their names would be great.
We could certainly do that. I mean, talk to the stewards and then make sure we have permission from
Yeah,
them. I
sure.
mean, I imagine we would if they're there, but yeah, a lot of times I don't know who they are, especially unfortunately on the other islands since I'm San Juan based.
Any key points from the report that you guys want us to know about?
It's all in there.
It is all in here.
Aaron has this catbird smile.
Yeah.
What did you say?
You look like the cat that swallowed the bird. You're like, oh, how much time do you have? Do you really want to know? Well, everyone always loves these. It's a lot of work, but it really tells a great story every month. So I appreciate it. Okay, so outreach communication.
That's me. So I'll start with the general, which is farmers markets. We're still, you know, first Saturdays at the farmers market. I think the next one is July 1st on all 3 islands. And North Shore tours continue. There was a birding one in the rain last week, which I'm impressed people came to. Sounds like they had a good time. And Watmau guided hikes by Amanda, and
the planning for the Green Village for the county fair is really ramping up. We will be sharing a space with the Ag Guild, I'm sorry, not the Ag Guild, the Ag program, the Ag tent. I keep calling it the tent, but there's people, the program, and working with their new coordinator, Rebecca Moore, who I know personally from Blue Moon Produce. She was a farmer on Waldron. So I think it's gonna be really interesting this year. Dancing with the Steers, if I didn't already tell you, come with your best of Dancing with the Steers outfit. That looks like it. That'll be fun. And then I have started working on getting the stewardship reports onto the website. First, it takes loading them all, which is a bit, and then creating the links, and then I think maybe its own page. So it's in process. It's just always takes a little bit longer to get things onto the website. And I think as far as events, that's about it. And then we can move on, unless there's questions. I was gonna say then we can move on to paperwork.
So I don't know if everyone, Tanya sent these out, and if you didn't get a chance to open them, some of them, there's a summary of 2022 and 2023 events to give you an idea of the number of things that are being offered. Yeah, these are copies, so. I don't know what,
I looked at it,
that
but
says 2023, and there's 2022. I don't
Yeah, it's
know,
hard to see
Amy,
on
if
the
you need
paper
them.
as well, sorry. Can't get it all.
That's only one, there's one, oh, you've got the 22, and then this is kind of a summary of the open rate on different.
I didn't turn off the notes.
Let's see,
It's three, I mean, the spreadsheet is so long,
yeah,
that's 3 pages, but so we use MailChimp for our email communication, and I have a newsletter, a list of about 800, 900 folks. And so this is a standard report that was printed out to see from the beginning of the year to now, or year 2022, I think, to now, of who opens what and what the open rate is. And it seems, after doing a little research online, the open rate's pretty good. In the notes, I think an average is maybe 20%. And they even organize it by different government versus real estate versus, there's a lot out there. So I did pay for an upgrade so that we can have more detailed reports going forward. So by next, either July or August, we could go over it again, and we will, at least in the communications work group, and see about targeted subject lines. I think they're working pretty well if they're opening at that rate. I think the next we'll be looking at the social media as far as what gets opened, and I'll boost some of the things. Like I tried to boost today the Turtleback press release that went out. But for what, most things happen on my phone. It's weird, as I was explaining, I think, to the communications group. We all came into this. I'm also on a county communications group. And when all these pages started popping up for organizations and things, it all goes off of your personal page. So still trying to figure out how to get my personal page and my identification off of all of the county stuff, which other departments seem to be having issues with. So you'll figure it out.
This is news to me, actually. I'm not sure what.
And so like environmental stewardship, when they started, everybody, oh, we'll just add a page. Things change with Meta. So that's an aside. But anyway, this morning at home on my phone, I was trying to boost it, and something didn't work. So we'll see. But it'd be nice. I think that would be a good one to promote is the turtleback closures. That will affect a lot of people. And so I don't know, did y'all have a chance to look, or do you have any questions?
well, what I want to say preliminarily, or first off, is that I asked Tanya to provide these 2 summary sheets, 22 and as far into 23 as she can project what they're doing, just to give people an idea of how many activities are planned and how many different ways we try to connect by providing personal experiences on the preserves and with the land bank. And 2023 is much busier than 2022. So I think every year and a lot more things happen, and it falls to the stewards to do a lot of it. Tanya to plan it, to do the outreach. I think communication continues to be a real challenge for us and for every organization. I've sat on a lot of boards, and everyone's trying to figure out how to reach the people, their constituents, and are we reaching them, and are we effective? So because we have almost 50% of our commissioners are new, I thought it would be helpful just to look at this information to give you an idea of the scope of what's currently being done. And then the click-through rate, that form's not here, but what you got somewhere in one of the spreadsheets, there was an open rate, and there's all the unique visitors, all that kind of stuff. But just in terms of general, the average is 60%. It's high, and the biggest open rate, if I'm reading this data correctly, was 85%, and that was for the terrestrial managers annual meeting. So they got a lot of people, but it could have gone to a very specific list who are very keenly interested. But if you look at the spreadsheets that were sent out, and Peter kind of manipulated one of them to reorganize it a bit, but it just shows you all the different topics, and it shows you what vehicle or publication, whatever was used to get it out, whether it was a land bank publication or whether it was terrestrial managers or whether it was a newsletter. So there's just a lot. Tanya and the staff do a lot of work. I think the bigger question for us going forward is to find out, how do we find out how effective those things are, and what else can we do? So I think some of that will come maybe through discussion and strategic plan, somehow get a feel for the effectiveness of the communication efforts. But so that's why this is here. It's just to kind of get us thinking about it. And because I know Tanya's always asked about what are we doing for communication? What more can we do? She is going to look at the click-throughs on the county sites, because we can track, how people come to us. And we should be looking at the Engage site or whatever the other general site on the county web pages were listed there. They do highlight certain things. We're going to work on asking them about personalizing it a bit so it doesn't look quite so. We'd like to get the land bank logo on there with the county logo so that people are used to seeing that image. And then when they see it, they'll know that that's who it is, versus just a pretty, the whole branding thing about trying to keep things looking similar can work against everybody's organization or department, because we all look the same. So anyway, so that's my preamble to this, just to let you know that there's a lot being done. And the question is how to find out how effective it is.
I will say that I had a conversation with someone yesterday, WFW, who had heard about the land bank, the organization, as a good role model for conservation. So we had a quick phone call yesterday, what's her name? Marion, about, how the land bank came to be, what do we do? But I think it was through I always get the acronym wrong, MSRC, you get the emails from them. Yeah, MRSC. And she had to get off the phone, but I didn't get a chance to ask her where she heard as a good role model. So we're going to be in touch. But that was it was interesting to hear that just out in the world. And that was one of the things that you could do better. How people get their information? How do your people get the information? And she said the same thing. It's always a struggle. So.
But we can also get back to the newspapers, because a lot of the online work is done, a lot of stuff shows up online, and we should be able to get data from them on how people are clicking through on any of the articles that we post there. We do have now support. We're coordinating efforts with the county, and Erin Wygant is used to be with the Visitors Bureau, very competent in communication. And so any press releases need to go through her for review. But I think we can also get information back. She's quite helpful with you, just kind of sharing ideas and ways that we can make all these efforts more efficient, I guess. So that's what I have to say. So now if you have questions about communication, Brian.
Comment.
Oh, comment. Oh, even better.
One of the things that I've learned by having some trouble doing it is I occasionally get asked by people, when can I find these tours to the North Shore, just for example, and that's the big one. So I go to the website and I look finally got it. So I think I have the path now. May even be able to describe it to people, but most of the people who contact us or look for, not talking about reaching out to people, but the people who look for us, I think are looking for events and, where and when can I visit? Can I see it? So that stuff needs to be right up front on our website. I think front and center and easy to find. So that's my comment. And also a question, when did we stop being able to post stuff on the Land Bank Facebook page?
When the county develops their social media, there's a social media policy.
Oh. What does that mean?
No comments. You can't comment. So there's no messaging in the background. That's all turned off. And no commenting on pages. They just go out.
But we can,
You should be able to comment on like a page, but not on messaging back and forth. Were you unable to?
What I was interested in is posting a post and picture of an activity.
You have to have administration rights to post to anybody's page.
Okay.
It's just like you couldn't, unless you're on an admin on a page.
but we're not prevented from posting on our Facebook page.
Your personal page, but I don't believe that you can post.
We can't
to
post on the
a
Land
San-
Bank
To the
page.
San Juan County Land
Well,
Bank.
no,
Facebook.
yeah,
But you,
only one
you
person.
do
should
it.
I do it.
So anybody that wants to post on a Facebook page sends it to you. And
Yeah, if you wanted something on there.
Well, if
Yeah.
it was a
Okay.
photograph or something.
Is that your
Yeah,
question?
you
Like,
would send
Yeah, that was my question, yeah, because I have posted stuff in the past.
oh, I see.
And just discovered I couldn't do it. I'm fine having you do it,
Yeah.
but just wondered.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, I think.
I guess if you've done it in the past, you were able, it must be,
I'm sure I
something's
have.
turned off. But generally, yeah, it's about public. Okay.
If you're a member of a group, generally you can post on a group,
Yeah,
but there may be something.
Yeah.
And now with the coordination of communication, as with like a press release or something, we write it, it goes into Aaron. Once Aaron posts it on the county site, then we're free to post it wherever we'd like. We are not, it's preferred that we don't jump ahead of the queue and post before the county posts it on their site.
but we're not free to post it on the Land Bank page of Facebook.
Until it's been posted
Yeah.
publicly.
Are you the administrator, Tanya?
Mhm.
Okay,
She's the boss.
Well, for our personal page.
so if we send you something to post, do you need to send it to Aaron before you post it on Facebook?
Not generally, no.
Okay,
Just press release.
Yeah, not snippets, like
Yeah.
we do with the notes in the field or anything. Like yesterday's with Jacob chopping up the tree on Mount Grant. Those are just little bits.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
don't-
anything kind of newsworthy.
Sure.
basically, Yeah, that would go through the
And
county.
I don't know how other commissioners feel about posting. I don't care particularly. I'm fine with sending it to you. I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm happy with one person controlling the, the narrative, but I wouldn't want to overburden you if I started sending you every really cool picture that I did.
You can send me as many pictures as you want. I never have enough.
Because I took
photos.
a great piano at my bed the other day. I wonder if she was.
Those are tough actually on Facebook.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
tough.
I'm just
Unfortunately.
gonna keep it. to
Well,
myself.
you can still send it to me. I can use it in the annual report.
It's
or
really
something.
special.
And your Facebook page is not actually a group, though.
It's, no, it's not a group.
It's not a group.
It's, there's so many different things. There's a group, it's a page. It's literally just,
your
it's my
personal
page,
Yeah.
my page.
So that would make sense that you're not able to
Yeah.
do that because you can't
Yeah.
post on my page. We can be friends, but you can't. Well, we could be friends. We're still working on that. But I don't think, I think you
Did
have.
I say so?
But the way they work,
Yeah.
commenting, groups, people are allowed to post in their pages.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed looking at the Facebook pages and a couple of people commented on this is, we had pictures of events, both upcoming events and, stewardship pictures. And people said, where was this? When? You might have said, Coho Preserve. Well, where's the Coho Preserve? And
upcoming events when.
Mhm.
So people want to know that stuff when they look at the page, the pictures.
Yeah,
When and where.
it's often in, well, okay. It's often in the commentary above, but a lot of people, I understand, just go straight to the photo.
I didn't find it either.
Yeah,
We could link the preserve name to the,
yeah, just Iowa Island.
Any other questions or comments about communication?
I will say that we did hear from another land bank. Tanya, I don't know if you want to fill them in on that.
Through social media. And it's Nantucket Land Bank. And
Oh.
actually it was through the community conversations, they really were impressed with the presentation that Lincoln gave and also the calculations and how, going back to the REIT and all the benefits that you have and if all the preserves were back on the tax rolls, you know, on estimation. So Lincoln, our math whiz, is gonna help them try to formulate something, but they're looking, he's basically, WWRC is gonna have to fight for him now because the Nantucket Land Bank is ready to consult with him as well.
They were very interested in the whole tax impact question, the way we've been presenting that.
That's fascinating because they started it and they make twice as much as we do.
Right.
They get 2%.
Not only twice as much, but.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
I do get their emails, you know, on LinkedIn, I signed up for something. It is astounding when I see their sales, and the REIT that comes through.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even more expensive than Orcas and the St. Laurent County.
And do they do a renewal like we do? Are they governed? No, they're just in,
No,
done and dusted.
no, there was a question. There's an annual town meeting, right, Brian?
Yep.
That 800 people go to. And they make decisions, people throw stuff on that agenda. There was one a couple of years ago where they suggested, there's a suggestion of reducing the land bank REIT for affordable housing. That didn't go anywhere.
Interesting. I'm gonna go look them up.
They're doing other stuff for affordable housing.
They are.
Yeah.
Because a certain governor of a certain state keeps flying migrants up there, so they need.
Yeah, need some affordable housing. Okay, I think that's anybody, Peggy, do you have any questions about communication?
She hasn't, yeah, she hasn't.
All right, so I think unless there's anything else, we do allow an opportunity for a second public comment period right now. Anyone's up there? Let's see, I don't think there's anyone really public.
Oh, Kathleen or Kathy Morris.
Oh, great. Kathy.
Hey, a lot of relaxed meeting today. I have a comment about your noxious, your plant discussion about plants that people don't like. And I have developed myself a new paradigm around plants that are undesirable, or what we call weeds, is that it's like any kind of war on invasive species is just like any kind of war. It's pointless because those plants are telling some story about that land. Example, Scotch broom tends to flourish in areas where humans have stripped them out, like power lines or in empty fields where things dug up and so the plants can take off. And those plants, a benefit of is they are nitrogen fixers. So they're doing a job, but they're also telling a story about that land. And a person who helped me understand the story to actually, of course, they're winning because they see things literally, they see things as relationships, is Nicole Mathers, who is a wonderful soil scientist. Her book is, I forget, it's about Nicole Mathers, and Dow Ryan, PAO, like tap that Ryan, a book called Beyond the War of Invasive Species. And she started that book when she worked for a conservation organization. She just went out skiing and she thought, I feel like I'm concerned. So she traced back why our conservation.
You guys can
And also,
She must have walked out of the zone.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just see if I can, if she logs in, I'm gonna tell her to stand still.
Here I'm back.
Kathy?
I'm back. Yeah,
Okay.
I think there was a gust of wind.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out, so if you're walking around, if you could,
I'm walking, I'm standing and the wind, so sometimes that's my connection. Can you hear me now?
pretty well, not 100%.
Okay, well, I'll try. Try and so when I was talking about Dow Orion, she traced back to Monsanto being to medication to these plants. A lot of it managed through proper land management. So I just encourage, I'm not going to change the world, the country, and get rid of noxious weed boards. But I feel like there is some education out there and some and see them plants as a story about plants. It's also called succession. Like I grow and succession and all that as far as management. They're using the term noxious weed for a plant because they're plants. They're just like, and it's like anything we do where we characterize something as bad, whether it be a race of people or an organization or whatever. I mean, they're plants and they don't mean harm. They're just responding to an environment that usually humans create. So that's what I have to say. And Beyond the War of Invasive Species is very detailed and very hopeful and encouraging. So, okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Nice to hear from you. Anybody else? Tracy Cotterman. Okay, I don't see any hands raised. All right. Well, that was a short meeting. I'm going to adjourn it and go support the local economy.
Very
Very efficient, yeah. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. We'll see you next month, 21st of July.